I want you to watch the closing remarks of Douglas Murray in a debate against Mehdi Hasan on whether anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. It's hosted by the Monk Debates, and his closing line is just so brilliant. On the debate as well was Natasha Hausdorff. With Douglas on Mehdi's side was Gideon Levy. But have a watch to this very final speech of the evening, which, by the way, the pro-Israel side won the debate convincingly. But have a watch of Douglas's words, because it is so powerful.
Well, thank you very much. Quite a lot of heat, some light. We set out this evening defining what both these terms were, and they are defined for you. Anti-Semitism is a cruel treatment, double standards applied to Jews. Anti-Zionism is a movement that believes that the Jews don't have the right to a state in their historic homeland. And as I said at the beginning, anti-Semitism is a shapeshifter. It does come from all sorts of directions, and Medhi is right. As I mentioned at the beginning, it can come from the far right, it can come from the far left. But at the moment, what we see an eruption of is anti-Semitism in the form of anti-Zionism. What else is it that is motivating the crowds? Why, when I was in Vancouver the other month, were there crowds going down the street in Vancouver screaming about Israel? What's it got to do with them? You're miles away. It's got absolutely into the brains of people in the West who believe they're doing something moral, and they are imbibing every anti-Semitic trope, as Natasha has proven. I should say, since Medhi was honest, I'll say what I think. I think he's a very dishonest actor. A very dishonest actor. And to say what you just said about hostages would come a lot better if a contributor to Al Jazeera had not been discovered last week holding a hostage in his home.
Just for clarity, by the way, Medhi was claiming that Gazan civilians weren't involved in the October 7th attack, which is ludicrous.
It would be a lot easier to take. And finally, I just want to say this. It's perfectly obvious, as I said at the beginning, that you can get anti-Semitism from all directions. This just happens to be the major direction which is coming in at the moment, in the guise of anti-Zionism. As I said, does everybody who is doing this know what they're doing? No. Almost certainly not. Do some of them? Oh, you bet. They're having a whale of a time. People like those people I mentioned marching last week through Jewish areas of Toronto, getting to scream about the pigs and the rats again. Wow, it feels good to them. Does everyone know what they're doing? No. But when you hear Gideon saying that, what did you say earlier? That Israel is the most brutal regime in the world, you can have traveled nowhere, sir. And there is no reason, as I said at the beginning of this tonight, why simply recognizing that the anti-Zionism of today is anti-Semitism should be any barrier to there being some kind of peace settlement at some point. But please understand that those of us who recognize that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism is because we see, after a mass slaughter of Jews, the world turning on the one Jewish state. That is what we see and what we worry about, and what some people like Medhi seem not to care about, and all of the smears and all of the lies that they get to pump out. But I've got good news for you, ladies and gentlemen, to finish. I hope very much that you vote the right way tonight, obviously. And it matters for Canada and its image. But the Jewish state and the Jewish people have survived an awful lot worse than this. They have seen off every single one of their enemies, from Pharaoh to the Abyssinians, to the Babylonians, the Greeks, the Romans. They will see off Hamas, they will see off Medhi, and they will outlive everybody in this room.
Just brilliant, amazing, and a brilliant, fantastic point to finish on. And important that we all remember that the Jewish people have a destiny that transcends the natural order of this world. And it's always been that way, and to ignore that, to deny that, would be to be willfully blind to history. And all the great historians out there that study Jewish history can see this. And I do find it odd that Mehdi Hasan, if you watched his speech at the monk debate, he would say, "I abhor anti-Semitism, and look at all these far-right shootings and things that have occurred in America and other places, and that's all terrible." But he says the Jewish people, on the other hand, cannot have a state, ignoring the fact that it is the Jewish people's, the land of Israel is the Jewish people's ancient historic homeland that they were forced out of, ignoring the fact that it was international law that approved the Jewish people creating a state there legally, ignoring the fact that the displacement of the Arabs that occurred did not occur because the Jews pushed them out when this state was created, but because the Arab world said, "We will not accept any Jewish state," and they started a war, and the displacement occurred when they started a war to destroy the one and only Jewish state. But ignoring all of that, I do have to wonder, what does Medhi think is the solution to anti-Semitism, to Jewish protection, if they can't have a state of their own? As Douglas was saying, in Europe, they didn't have a state. How did they fare there? In the Arab world, study the history of the Jews' treatment in the Arab world. Often, it was really not pretty at all. And by the way, especially even in the land of what was then British Mandate Palestine, there were pogroms, rapes, murder against Jewish communities before Israel was created, decades before. So what's his solution? Just let the Jews continue to wander the earth and have no place that they can call home? I'm sorry. But if you genuinely think that the Jewish people will be fine, having studied history, not just studying history, looking at the anti-Semitism that surrounds so many societies today, and you still think, no, they don't need self-determination, then quite frankly, you are not being an honest, fair, moral player. And we shouldn't buy the kind of moral pontificating that Mehdi Hasan preaches, because it is nonsense to say that he cares about the Jewish people's well-being, if that's the conclusion that he comes to. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.